Hi there and welcome to Bustthenet. Thanks for joining me. This is a quick guide for anybody who's new to the game of Football Manager and needs help on how to analyze the squad. When you first get the game, the first thing you want to do is pick the right kind of club for your comfort level. Now, if you pick a title favorite or a relegation candidate, there's going to be a lot of pressure. Title favorites don't usually give you a lot of wriggle room. So if you end up having to struggle at the start of the season, you could find yourself out of a job. Relegation candidates, they have another challenge too. They're expected to get relegated, so you're gonna have to get really good results, and everybody's gonna treat you like a whipping boy. So if you're not really comfortable, my advice is pick a club that's somewhere in the middle of the table who don't have too many expectations. They just want to stay in the middle of the pack, and that's usually a decent club you can pick up. And the pressure when you're in that kind of a club isn't as bad as one that is expected to win the title or get relegated. The next step is to create your avatar in the game. This avatar will be jumping up along the sidelines if you're watching this game in 3D, and it's kind of fun. As you go down the list, you can choose which nationality you are. This influences international jobs later. You can set your place of birth, pick your favorite team. Now, picking your favorite team is kind of cool, because if you do get a job at your favorite team, it will appear in the news and it will mention that this is your favorite team. So you also can choose your preferred formation and your second preferred formation. Setting this up will then include this information in your manager biography. It's also a cool way for you to check the biographies of all the other coaches in the game, because you're gonna have to hire coaches too. Now, the other thing you're gonna have on this screen, which is pretty cool in itself, is the ability for you to assign responsibilities. Now, if you don't do anything, you handle everything yourself. Now, personally, I like to go into the screen and tell my ass man to do all the press conferences, tunnel interviews, and team talks, because this is not something I like to do. I just love to set up tactics, go out there and play, and I just ignore the rest. And this is pretty good, because then you don't have to go into the game and individually look for the setup and change things inside, because this allows you to do it from the top of the screen. The next thing you want to do is to decide whether you want to be a tracksuit manager or a tactical manager. It sounds like a really tough choice, but basically what these two entities do is they influence the distribution of your attributes and influence your ability as a coach. So the best thing about this is that if you're just starting out the game for the first time, then you could turn yourself into a 5-star coach. And I recommend that you focus on the harder to get 5-star coach, especially in the technical and the mental areas, which is what I do. But you're gonna have lots of room. 5-star fitness coaches are easy to find, and goalkeepers, goalkeeping coaches that are 5-star are easy to find. The rest of the other coaches are not so hard. And then what you do is you also make sure that you have determination, discipline, and motivating. These will be the 3 important ones if you want to be a 5-star coach. Now, does this influence whether top players come to your club? Not really. I don't believe that is the case, because what's more important is your club's reputation and your track record as a manager. So you're just starting out, so it's not really going to influence. It's not going to play that big an influence, but it's going to play a big part in how you develop your players, because you can turn yourself into a 5-star coach. Now, at lower league, you will end up being the only coach, and you'll probably take over like 8 or 7 areas, right? So you probably drop down to about 3 stars. So it's okay. I personally, I don't think it's a big hack in the game. I think it's just okay, cool, no biggie. The next thing you want to do is do a league comparison to find out how you stack against the rest of the league. And here you want to be looking at the team report. You can have a tab that it says comparison, then you compare yourselves to the rest of the league. I recommend that you always aim for the highest average or close to the highest average. You don't want to aim for the average, because the average, if you take all the players in the squad, you're gonna have like maybe 24 players in the squad, but you only really play with 11. So it kind of skews the numbers. So you want to be doing a proper check, and here you're gonna have to look at certain attributes and what they imply. Determination you need to find out how you rank, because this influences how your team is going to fight when they're a goal down. uh, Work rate, how hard will your players work when they get the ball, or how hard are they going to work when they don't have the ball. Positioning for defenders is going to be important along with anticipation, because you really need to know how good your players are mentally when they're defending. Composure can be important for any striker. It can be important for playmakers as well as any player who's creative and around the center, because you need these creative players to do something with the ball. So composure allows them to work well under pressure. They're going to be facing a lot of pressure, so you definitely want those players to be good on the ball. Acceleration gives you a very good idea of your team right off the bat, because if you have very strikers with good acceleration, you can hit them on the break. If you have defenders with good acceleration, you may be able to play with a slightly higher defensive line, even if they have average mentals. So acceleration kind of gives you a really good feel for the side. And for a lot of sides who want to play wide and hit off the break, you really need acceleration, and sometimes you need something that's well higher than the league average. So if my league average was 13 here in Holland, then I definitely want 13. But imagine if I'm going to the Champions League and I'm playing against a club from England. Now England's league average is 15, so that would mean my Ajax or my Dutch players, they're not going to be as fast as the English players. First touch can be very important as well, and I like to check first touch, especially for flair players, especially for players out wide who need to take control of the ball really quickly, because this defines how good they are going to be at controlling the ball. Once you've done that, you should stack up your entire team, have a good look at them, because then decisions come into play, because this defines football intelligence in a team. How good are they at everything? Now, the problem when you start with lower league teams is you can't really pick any of this. I mean, you don't have players with high intelligence. You may not find players with good composure, much less find an entire squad of determined youngsters. So this is where you need to understand how these attributes affect your team. And if you know that you have a bunch of players with very low work rates, then you know that, okay, I might have an issue getting all these players back. So do I want to play a very aggressive system which involves a lot of players going up and a lot of players coming down? This is something that you might need to think about. What if you have a creative striker and he's got everything going for him? Does it mean I don't play him because he's got low work rate? No, remember Eric Cantona? Some of the great playmakers of they didn't have very good work rates, but they had very good first touch. So understand what the attributes do for the player, because sometimes a great playmaker doesn't need to come back all the time. He just has to be in the right place at the right time. And so these players may not need to, hey, I don't need to defend. I'll just stick around and do something with the ball when you get the ball to me. This reminds me of Matthew Letizia from Southampton. He was like that. Okay. Poor positioning and anticipation sometimes isn't very good for a certain category of players. I like to think that for my defenders, I want mentals. So sometimes you end up looking for players who are older because they've got solid mentals. Good positioning and anticipation in defenders will allow me to be a bit more adventurous when it comes to attacking. However, if you have a team that doesn't have good anticipation or positioning, then what you really need to think about is, can your team play a back four? You need to think of having a static defense, and this is where using a defensive midfielder or a halfback could come in handy. So you may want to put somebody in front of them to protect them, and come back and do the screening in front of them. So you got to think in terms of if your defenders aren't very good, what do? Then you look at the guys in front of them and make sure that they can tackle. What if you have players in front of them who can't really tackle? Then, well, you ask for it, because that's a big challenge. I wouldn't recommend picking a team like that if this is the first time with your game. If this is the first time with the game for you, then I'd pick an average side. At least join a club that has no expectations. Then if you don't do it so well, then the club isn't gonna fire you. Now, why do I rate composure? Why do I look at composure? Well, composure needs to be there for your midfielders. If they have low composure, then you probably won't even be able to play certain shapes. Let me explain. If I had a playmaker who had low composure, and maybe even low first touch, but he had great dribbling, he had great passing, he has great decisions. Now, if he has low composure and lower than average first touch, if the ball gets out to him, he may not really be able to take control of the ball. A. B, that low composure, the moment he gets pressured by players, he might just lose the ball. So you must understand how composure plays a part. Too many people just focus composure on strikers, and they go like, yeah, you need a great striker with great composure and great finishing. Yes, but what's the point of worrying about your strikers when the people who need to get the ball to the strikers are more important? So here you need to understand why composure is such an important attribute in certain players. I don't mean that you need everybody to have good attributes, but it does explain why better teams with better attributes outperform sometimes. Now, over time, you will find that if you have a team who has got low technical ability or low composure, low first touch, maybe even balance as well for some playmakers, you're going to have to start asking yourself a question. Is structured a good shape? This brings us to our next point, because when we start looking at, we will do tactics in a bit. I'll do a shorter guide for tactics in another show. But here, what we want to do is we want to take a look at our squad, understand the kind of squad that you have, because you need to spend some time looking at your squad and going, all right, I have very poor defenders, or rather very slow defenders. Maybe I should not be so attacking. Maybe it's better for me to play a flexible shape, and because they're not very good at tackling, then maybe I need to put a DM. That tells you straight away that you're going to be playing with a 4 with a 1 in front. Then if you know that, then just look around at your squad. What are the options for you to go forward? Do you have a good striker? Do you have somebody who can hold up the ball in front? These are questions that you need to do, which is why usually the start of any game, the start of any season, you're probably going to have to sit back and take a good look at your squad and see what they can play. Now, some people say it's better to fit the tactic around your players, and some people say go and get the players for your tactic. Now, what the reality is, some of us may not even have that much money if you go to a club that's middle of the table, right? You probably can't do that. Even if you go to a top side and you look at your club and you go like, oh no, I can only bring in 2 players, what do I do? Well, then you really need to think about how you're going to fit your players into a system that can work for them. So what you want to do is spend some time going through your squad. This is probably going to take you some time, but it's very handy to come up with your own views, your own custom views that you can develop for yourself. And once you do that, you probably are going to lay down a very solid foundation for the rest of the game. In the next show, what I will do is I will start taking a look at the tactical creator and what this tactical creator can do for you. Well, I hope you enjoyed this guide on how you can analyze your squad on the first day. There will be more shows coming up very soon. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please drop me a note on Twitter at Bustthenet or addicted2fm.com, my website. Once again, I'd like to thank you for watching the show and all the patrons for supporting the show. You can find more other videos on the game here on Bustthenet, my channel. If you enjoy this, please subscribe, and I look forward to hearing from all of you very soon. You guys take care. Have a good one. Bye-bye.